But today we're going to talk about how we can find out and how much we can find out and what it takes to get there. So first we have to decide how much do we want to find out. So let's say in this case, I want to find out at a level of 7. Okay, so I find that level on my graph and I come horizontally to my gradient line. Where it intersects with my gradient line, I'm going to come straight down to where it intersects with my fuck around line. That there is going to tell me how much I have to fuck around to find out what I need to find out. See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out. So I hope this lesson is helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roger. So I think everybody, welcome back to the show. And we have a jam-packed session, I think, this time here. We've got, I saw a lot of things on the internet this weekend while doing some research for this one. I had trouble sleeping, the kind of stuff I've seen. But I think we will reserve that for the podcast that's going to come up ahead. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. So today, I think we'll try to keep it a bit low on the videos, because I think last week we kind of tried to make up for 2 weeks worth of we missing from the internet, and decided to just go jam-pack, one-on-one on top of each other. We just had back-to-back videos to share. So today I think we'll just kind of have a bit of our commentary as well on top of the videos we're going to share. I think this one here, Soeb, is going to make your blood boil. So I think this is the perfect thing to start with.
Blood boil.
There's a video that I came across on the weekend. Let me screen share.
Blood boiling is not good, brother.
I think this fella here is from Australia.
Oh no. Fellow Australian as well.
All right, check this out.
So we're in Bend, Oregon on vacation. And we're in the old mill district, and they've got this old brick building here. And one of the ways you know if something's structural masonry actually is these are called headers. So every direction a brick is laid, like this is called the stretcher when they're laid like this. And in a veneer situation, these are all you see. When you get these are tying different withes together, different layers of brick. So this is probably like a triple withe brick wall or something. I don't know if you can see the wall section. Yeah, you can see the brick on the interior there. So this is really a triple withe, which is what we're building as well. But that's how you really know. You can see these on the interior too. So check that out next time you guys are in a brick building. And then see these, we call these pilasters. There's these kind of like half columns off of a wall. And the reason they did this is, like I said, that main wall is probably a triple withe wall, but these pilasters are basically offering lateral stability. So rather than making the wall thicker and wasting all that brick, they're making the wall a little thinner, but then using these pilasters for extra support. And then what's cool is it breaks up the building and is a really nice architectural detail. So you can see it going up and then it terminates into these corbels here at this eave height. And you've got these parapets that corbel out and then take the rafters, it's a place for those to dive into. So just cool old brick details. And you'll see us do pilasters a lot too. And even though we're putting rebar in ours, like this actually provides a cavity to put rebar in. But sometimes just by doing these, you don't have to put rebar in because once again, you're just worried about the lateral stability of these buildings. And one other thing is these are segmental arches, what we're talking about. So rather than a half round that comes all the way around like a Roman arch, imagine like you take a circle and just cut it off towards the top. So that's why it's called the segment, or some people call it an eyebrow arch because it makes that just a portion of the circle rather than a whole half circle. And then they're also doing all these old buildings, not just in Bend, but in Oklahoma City or where you guys live probably, is these arches. See, they've actually got 4 voussoirs, so 4 layers of brick. And in veneer situations, people will often do just a single one. But the bigger the arch gets, the more voussoirs you have. So this is probably like a 6 foot, 7 foot wide arch. And so they've got 4 voussoirs, and it's also called a rough arch rather than a gauged brick, where you can see the mortar joints are creating the wedge if you look really closely, and the brick are actually whole. So they're not cutting any brick. And the reason you do this is it's so much faster, but still really turns out beautifully. So compare that, what we were just looking at, to this, which is new construction.
So this is the place, bro. Look at this. This is the
And look how
modern
different this looks. Look how kind of like fake it
the
looks
modern
compared to that over there. And I know
monstrosity
it's
that
hard
they've
to
built.
see, but some of that's because they're using a wire cut brick, and also, you know, you don't see any headers here anywhere. Over those windows, you've just got these kind of soldier courses running straight across, and they're not even doing a jack arch, right? So they're having to rely on steel. And even on these arches, see how they got this steel piece below? And it looks, there's no, it's because this is an actual veneer. And I mean, they don't even necessarily need that piece, but we just learned in modern construction, we don't really build brick buildings anymore. It's just concrete and steel buildings with brick veneer on the outside. And just kind of look, even with the way they've done the arch, how kind of silly it looks comparatively. And they've got these control joints coming off the arch right here too, going right next to the window, which also looks frankly kind of dumb. And this is most building today. And then here's one last example. You know, you've just got these brick functioning way that brick aren't meant to. They're completely reliant on that steel lintel down there. And seeing they even stop right there at the column edge. Usually in the old days, they would have a jack arch where the brick are kind of laid like this, and they create in a wedge shape if you do want a flat top. But either you do a curved arch, a big stone lintel, or you have to do a jack arch. But here they're just relying on steel. And once again, it's not as good of a way to, not as resilient of a way, because that steel is going to rust and all that kind of crumbles and fails over time. Once again, they got this control joint, which not the most appealing aesthetically. Once again, compared to that over there, and look at the depth too of that. And it's kind of like an odd building, but it's fun. And look how cool that is. And even the texture of the brick. And we're big on texture. So these are old, you know, these might be hand molded brick or tumbled brick. And they're doing their mortar joints a little bit differently too. And just look at the difference here from that to that, right? No comparison.
All right. So what do you think of that, Mike? You know, I think a lot of people are getting their houses built or commercial properties built, and they're taking shortcuts, isn't it, in construction?
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
because you see like the houses that were.
But why do you think that is happening? Why do you think we are taking shortcuts? I mean, they know that this is not the right way. I mean, things will not last if you build it that way.
Because it's
Why do you
not
think that's
illegal.
happening?
Because it's not illegal. See, they're only taking shortcuts because if something is illegal, then they'll have to actually follow the law and make it like comply with the law. But if something is not illegal, and you can technically get away with it, then and you can save a lot of money in the process, then yeah, sure. That's how like businesses, right? That's how they kind of tend to operate. As long as nothing illegal is happening and you can still make a buck, that's exactly how it is.
I guess it's getting hard to make a buck as well because construction itself is becoming very expensive. Like Australia, man, materials are. Yeah. So, but then, I mean, is it even worth building things that last? I mean, because most people, I think, are now thinking, okay, if you build a house or a property like the one we saw, which is double story or whatever, or triple story, if it lasts them 30, 40 years without having to do too much reconstruction or just with normal, wear and tear and maintenance, as a commercial property, do you think they're just aiming to make enough, make it last a while so that they can make enough money out of it if it's a restaurant or whatever?
Probably. See, my understanding is that back in the day when they used to build those you can walk by over here
like churches.
Not churches, but we're talking about like steel, so wool mills, right? These wool milling.
Yeah.
Big,
they're just stranded,
giant,
they're empty, and they're
They're not empty.
Yeah, wool mills.
They're not empty. They look like they're empty, but they're not. They've actually been repurposed to fit other businesses. They become warehouses.
Oh, okay.
Basically.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of them in Melbourne. I've seen quite a few.
Like that area, Footscray, that area where when you go by from Footscray to Sunshine, that there's that big long road along the train line, and there you see on one side there's all just mills. There's like a rubber mill, there's like a wool mill, there's like all these mills, which makes sense why they're there because they're really close to the train line. And those buildings, right? Even when you're driving past them, like you're passively just looking at them from like the corner of your eye, they still stand out, like from the other buildings that are in the area, which are all like rendered brick and brick veneer. And this is one of the things when I saw how, like when I was looking for a bookcase, right? You can see the bookcase that I have over there. That's like, those are like rubbish trash bookcases. But you go to buy any furniture, right? Any piece of furniture. It is all made with what they call sustainable lumber, or in more proper terms, trash, like, lumber, which is basically just sawdust. It's like a sawdust mixture of wood and
All that rubbish that kind of just ends up on the floor.
yeah. It's basically, I think
so to say.
it's whatever gets left over after they make industrial plywood. So when they make real industrial plywood,
What's the industrial term for that plywood? It starts with M. I think.
MGP10.
Yeah.
No, MGP10 is not plywood. MGP10 is for
Okay.
Construction lumber, construction timber. So like those big beams that you see. So those are MGP10. I've got a few sitting in the workshop. MGP10 is basically meant to be for construction because it's dried in a certain way. It has a certain amount of moisture content. It's also really good for making furniture because it's extremely dry. You can stain it. It'll take stain very nicely. Very nice for like finished furniture, like furniture that you want to like have kind of an heirloom quality to it. Like you can build it once and then you can pass it on to other people. So that kind of stuff. So what I'm trying to say is that when I was looking to buy a bookcase, I stopped looking because the quality of the bookcases was really bad. Like you buy most.
Yeah, if you get all the IKEA furniture or Kmart furniture,
I'll give you an example, right?
Yeah.
To buy furniture from IKEA, it'll cost me $395. The amount of bookcases I want. Okay. If I spend now, this is where I guess the balance is. I've already spent close to $1,000 setting up my workshop. Okay, so
Yeah.
I have like all the tools that I need to actually cut and build stuff by myself.
Yeah.
So I think for the average person, they're just looking at $300 versus $1,000. But
Yeah.
to me, if I pay for that $1,000, and again, I'm kind of a creative person, so I like to build stuff with my own hands. But to the other person, they're like, well, I just want something that I can buy quickly, put together, in an afternoon, have it up against the wall, and put my stuff in there. So it's more utilitarian for them. But for me, it's more like I need to have something good quality. And
I think it's more
different people are
function
different.
for people who are into the IKEA furniture. It's more about function and
It's utilitarian.
yes, I think the
It's
Scandinavian
utilitarian.
design or whatever you want to call it is there, but I think it's not really Scandinavian furniture. It's Scandinavian inspired, but good Scandinavian furniture is costly.
Good
So
Scandinavian
in
furniture is
reality, all
made
you're
of
buying
real wood.
is
It's made of real wood as well. It's
so-
not made of like this.
correct
What do you call it?
plywood
wood-
material. Yeah.
It's not plywood. It's saw. It's like.
Is it wood chips compressed together?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
wood
what it
chips. It's wood chips that are basically compressed together to make like dimensional wood, and then they're held
Hmm.
together by this really nasty kind of glue. That's why anytime you it's called melamine. The whole
with a
thing is called
plastic sheet on
melamine.
top?
Yeah, with a melamine sheet on
Melamine.
top. So it's called melamine. That whole thing. So anytime you buy something that is melamine or or that kind of board, I forgot what the name of the board was. I think it's called chipped wood or something. You buy that kind of board, you have to if you're cutting it, or if you're doing any kind of cutting or any type, you can buy like big melamine sheets for like next to nothing. It's pretty cheap. And if you're doing cutting and everything, you have to wear like a pretty high filter mask. You can't just do it like with, the average mask that you get. But with wood, many people don't even need to wear a mask if they're not that allergic to wood. Like it's that easy to actually avoid sawdust inhalation. But again, if you're working,
Yeah,
in
because
it,
I think a couple of years ago there was. I'm sure these cases happen all the time, but a couple of years ago, I think on Channel 9 or 7, I saw this news story where a bunch of tradies were suing, or they were. It was like one of those 60-minute stories, I think, where they talked about that they're working on all this marble. Again,
yeah, the stone,
it's not real
Caesar
marble.
stone, Caesar stone.
The stone.
It's called
Yeah,
Caesar
I
stone.
think
Yeah, it's
Caesar
fake
stone.
stone, basically.
Yeah, Caesar stone or something of that sort. They're working on it, and all that has now they've inhaled all that, and now they've got all kinds of diseases,
It's
respiratory
because
diseases because of
it's
that.
because it was not it wasn't illegal. Like I said, I'm coming back to that whole thing. It wasn't illegal for people who own those businesses to to buy masks to properly equip the people who are working there, because the effects of Caesar stone inhalation, what is also known as silicosis, the effects of silicosis were not known, so nobody knew what would happen. You see.
It is insane that if you look at the mortar and you look at the bricks, the quality of the bricks itself, like I saw a test where they took bricks from different eras, from different decades, and they put it under pressure, under a hydraulic press kind of a pressure, to see how much pressure it can handle before it breaks, it cracks. And the ones that were like, from 30, 40 years ago or 50 years ago, these bricks they could handle so much pressure compared to the new ones. So is that because that over time these
you're
bricks
saying
have...
that even the new recipe for the bricks is also bad? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, the composite inside it. That's what I'm saying, man. Even the bricks itself that being used, either the quality. I mean, look, again, it was some YouTube video that I watched. Like everything, I get all my information from the World Wide Web, which is obviously the best source and the most original and the truest source that you can get information from. But this video, I mean, ultimately, it's all up to you, right? I mean, how much you're willing to believe it. So I was looking at this test where they were doing these different bricks. I mean, it could all be made up, but my understanding is that the bricks nowadays that they bake in the clay oven or however they do it industrially, the quality is just not there. So I'm not sure that why is that happening. Is that again the amount of energy that it takes to manufacture these bricks? They do not want to invest that much amount of time because it's not worth it, or
Again, I think it's all because it's not illegal. I basically think that it's because they can just slide under the legal loopholes and just make a buck. That's
timber
basically what I
homes.
think.
Timber homes or timber construction compared to brick construction, where they have brick and steel beams, compared to the wooden beams with maybe bricks on the outside or whatever material, are they both good enough, or bricks are way better? Because I think it's also about the conservation of
you
heat
never have a house that is
and insulation.
You never have a house that is completely made with bricks. There will always be some combination of bricks plus wood or bricks plus steel. And each of them has their own advantages and disadvantages. Steel will stop, insects and termites and pests from infecting your house. But at the same time, steel has a tendency to, like the houses that are made on steel have a tendency to sway a little bit. In winds and stuff. Although I think with cross beaming and all that kind of stuff, it's become a lot better now. In either case, the problem is in Australia today, and I guess in most places where the homes are being made, most houses are just brick veneer, meaning the whole house is constructed with wood and plasterboard, and then on the outside, the facade is just brick. It's like a layer of bricks, and that's it. Just so that they look pretty.
Or just like a brick veneer or whatever.
Brick veneer is
veneer.
Veneer means that there's only one single. It's veneer means something that hides the original.
Just for show
material. Yeah, it's for show.
Okay.
Like whenever you go buy any furniture from IKEA, it'll say on there. It'll say like Tasmanian oak veneer, meaning it's they've actually taken like sections off the real tree. It's about 3 millimeters, so it's about this thin, and then they paste that on top of whatever board they have, whatever little sort of particle board that.
Yeah, it's all about the show, isn't it? I mean, how strong the build is doesn't really matter to people anymore. Or I guess again, there's inflation, there's expensive
Look, 3
raw
millimeters.
materials.
A 3 millimeter veneer will actually impart some structural strength because it's real wood. It's real wood fibers, right? But in terms of that versus building the entire thing out of something like plywood, Like building the if a bookcase, for example, if you build it completely out of plywood, yes, it looks ugly, but it'll probably last generations. Now, to make plywood look pretty, you put like a veneer on top of it. But
So it's more of a functional.
It's more of a
than
visual
the
thing than a
form
functional thing.
and
Yeah.
more of a
Veneers.
visual thing. Okay.
Veneers
yeah.
are more visual than functional.
Yeah.
But if you have plywood, like if you have the base material as plywood, and if you put a good veneer on top of it, then that is like functional and visual both together, which is very rare. Those you can still find those kind of bookcases and everything in like, you know, nice furniture places like Freedom, or I don't know, like some other places where you can get those kind of furnitures. But again, expensive. But if you get plywood
Super
yourself
expensive.
and make it yourself, it'll probably cost you a fraction of what it actually costs. Just like with anything else, really. Again, you're not
Okay.
in the case of building it yourself. You're not considering the time that you spent on the actual item building it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, you can only hope for architecture that was, you know, from the Renaissance, or even something that is 50 or 60 years ago. If you look at the construction,
even something that was made in the 70s, right? I would still be considering that. Like if I'm going to go buy a house, I would happily buy a house that is older and looks like crap on the inside, and then I will spend money renovating it.
Yeah, even houses, I think they built up to the 80s and the 90s, they were good because, you know, they have complete brick construction or double brick construction.
Yeah. So that double brick is just a little bit better than veneer, but it still has like, it'll probably last a little bit more longer, but it's
A bit
still
longer.
got the same problems.
Yeah. All right, you know, I guess fork out all that money if you really want good construction. Otherwise, you live in
Basically.
shoebox. So
Even then, you can't be guaranteed because you don't know how the construction company is actually.
I have seen, like not seen, but you know, heard about these cases where friends have told me that they've got construction as an investment property. They got houses built, and they were told by the people who did the construction work that the contractors that, you know, there's insulation in all these walls, and this lady, she knew that they were lying to her.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, no, there is insulation. It's like, no, show it to me. It's like, we can't show it to you. Like, the wall is up. And she actually took a hammer and smashed through the wall and showed them, look, it's empty. And then she smashed through another wall in the house and told them, you're not even going to pick up the bill to fix these walls. You're also going to put insulation back into them because I know you're lying. So there are cases like that where brand new houses are being built with things missing inside them.
Bro, I think like this house where I'm living right now, I don't think this house has insulation because the moment it's cold outside, it gets so cold inside, it's insane. It's really bad.
True.
I think one of the things that Australia really struggles with, unfortunately, is properly insulating their homes, the houses that are built.
Yeah.
It struggles really badly. One of the best countries in the world to actually have great insulation is Germany.
Even Canada, I think one of my
Canada,
relatives there in Canada, and they were showing me like they're walking inside with shorts and t-shirt, and outside is like snowing, bro. I saw it on a video call. I couldn't believe it. Like, you know, they were just hanging around inside and it's all, there's no curtains or anything, just glasses, just normal glass, and they're just walking around inside as if.
Did you know that double insulation glass is actually not mandatory? It's optional. Double insulation.
Okay, so it does work, right? Double glaze.
Double insulation
right?
does
I think
work.
That's what they call it.
But normally, what the kind of glass, the stuff that we have is just reinforced single pane reinforced glass. That's it. We don't get like double insulation.
Yeah. When you stand next to it, you can feel
you can feel how
really
cold it is.
outside. You can feel, yeah.
Yeah, we don't get double insulation because it's too expensive.
Let's jump into
Let's change gears.
Another one of these videos that I found. So this is one of those Coke ads where they actually use stable diffusion as part of the final product.
I saw bits.
So have a look at this, man. Yeah, you like this one.
Yeah, this is stable diffusion most likely.
All this for the bottle of Coke, mate.
What's surprising is nobody wants it.
Yeah.
That is stable diffusion. That's
a bit of sugar.
The point right at the end
bit
where
of
she
sugar.
winks, that is stable diffusion.
Yeah, so I think they use stable diffusion in certain parts of the video, like especially the ones where they're on a yacht and there's all these working men on it in the ocean. So I think all the paintings and that sort of stuff is all
I think
that.
the stuff
and
that was
any
in the
transformation.
Yeah, I think the transformation
and maybe the transformation as well of the Coke.
No, the transformation was probably not stable diffusion because that's a bit too clean for stable diffusion. But the ending where that woman with the earring, she goes like, the wink, right? That was definitely stable diffusion because you can see the sort of
So I think because it's just it's going to be too hard to make that happen. I mean, look, all of that is possible using traditional tools.
It's going to take
but
time,
I think that it just speeds up your workflow and allows you to experiment. Okay, how are we going to incorporate that in our traditional?
Like for example, I'll give you the workflow for that end at the end when she winks, right? Instead of having to in traditional media, what they would have done is they would have actually drawn out. They would have hired a concept designer and they would have made him paint every single frame. But in stable diffusion, all they need is just an iPhone, record somebody in that pose, like doing the wink, and then upload that into stable diffusion, do the prompt, and get it done in 5-10 minutes instead of taking, I don't know.
Yeah, so you can do things like I think now you can record a video and then using stable diffusion you can put a famous painting or whatever on top of it, and then
you can use the aesthetic of the painting.
Top of the video.
Use the aesthetic of the painting, and it'll just make the frames by itself. Because once you could have the aesthetic and that's it.
Yeah, you could take a famous painter's likeness or aesthetic, as you call it, and put it on a traditional video. And in that traditional video, you could be breakdancing and look like as if Leonardo da Vinci drew you or something like that.
Exactly.
So, what has your experience been about stable diffusion? Because you and me, we both have been kind of using it.
Yeah, I want to actually get your take on this thing because I've been using it a lot less than probably you have. I've been having difficulty just trying to get my head around a lot of the stuff that.
I've been using it day and night. So I've not used Midjourney. I understand what Midjourney is. So I have not used it. So my understanding of it is this: that you can definitely use stable diffusion is not, it's a Swiss Army kind of a knife, kind of a tool so I'm not in the creative industry, right? So to me it is just a plaything. So I just sit there and at any time I'm visualizing something in my mind, I will just go in there, put a prompt in there. I'll just say, for example, a man standing on top of a mountain, cloudy weather, slight rain or something like that, or sun shining, sun rays or God rays coming through the clouds or whatever, and then boom, it'll within 30-40 seconds it'll create me a bunch of images, like 5 or 6 images, and then I can look at, they're all variations, and then I can just pick the one that I think that the aesthetic, whatever is pleasing to the eye, I'll just take that and I'll create more variations out of it. and then you just work from there. You just see, okay, if I add a certain word in, if I say dark clouds, the image changes slightly. If I say red sky, or twilight hour, or golden hour, it'll slightly change the image, the atmosphere, and everything of the. And you can have it as a 3D. You can have it as a 2.5D, as they call it, which is slightly 3D, slightly realistic, slightly like a painting, digital art kind of painting. Or you can have super realistic, like, the max it can go. Even then, it's not like very realistic, but yes, from far away, you would think that is a real image.
Yeah.
Depending on how many elements are within the image. And but I feel that there's still a way to go. I mean, definitely the generative AI, we are definitely at a place, we are at that precipice of, where the next evolution of it will basically, it'll work out a lot of the kinks, a lot of the chinks in the armor will be removed. You will not be able to tell. Like I created a photograph of a woman who was in a complete medieval armor. And you could not tell. It looked like a real
Didn't they have that
image.
challenge?
The only difference is that
they had like the challenge of complete woman in like medieval woman in armor or something like that.
Yeah, so this service that we are using, they have all these challenges to, it's very community driven, just like Discord, like how Midjourney is. But I kind of feel that it's gonna take a lot of jobs away. And if you are someone who is working in the upper echelons, like working in the agency, working for the big contracts, there will be a push to reduce costs of doing these ads, or there'll be a push to get a higher quality ad output or higher quality production of an ad or any piece of creative work for the same kind of money. So either way, somewhere the needle has to shift.
From my use of Stable Diffusion, and which is admittedly not that much, I've been trying to render like still life kind of stuff, like fruit vegetable baskets and fruit baskets and that kind of stuff. And each time I do my prompt, like I save my prompt, and when I'm like, oh, okay, fine, I got a good result with this prompt, I just save it on the side. And then the next time what I do is I copy that prompt again into the thing, and then I try to push the prompt as far as possible. So I try to add more words into it just to see where does the prompt break. So far, I've managed to render some really nice fruit bowls, some really nice coffee mugs and glass and refracting light and all that kind of stuff. But the biggest problem I feel, and not the problem, I think the biggest application of Stable Diffusion so far, I feel, is just like how in that then Coca Cola ad, you had certain aspects of it using Stable Diffusion. Those aspects that are more artistically inclined. So they're not very realistic. It's to do realism with Stable Diffusion, it still looks weird. It's like those Wes Anderson ads that people have seen, like Star Wars by Wes Anderson and this by Wes Anderson. It looks kind of bizarre. It looks unreal. It'll get better. It's not there yet.
It'll get better.
Rendering photos in Stable Diffusion with realistic faces. Yeah, if you don't pay attention, if you're just passing by the photo, if you don't pay attention to it, it looks kind of realistic, and you can get decent enough results. But the problem is you cannot actually repeat. Like you can't. Okay, what happens is you have a model that you've generated, and then you're like, okay, you want to generate the same model but in a different pose. Like you want the guy to look.
What's a model?
Like you've generated a person's face, right? So say like I generated this. There was this model. What I did was I generated a guy looking into the camera on a busy, crowded, busy street at nighttime. So I generated the face. So there was this one face I liked out of like 5 or 6 faces that was given to me. And then I took that and I said, okay, now I want him to look from left to right. I was trying to create animation frames. So I was trying to do like, okay, I want him to look away from the camera to the right or to the left or something. And the problem is every single time I generated it, there was enough variation in there. Even though I set the strength to 0, like I said, no variation. I want the same guy. The model just could not regenerate the same person in a different pose. It's like once you generate the person, it's very hard. So I'm just trying to Because I saw those videos like of people like doing all these video things with Stable Diffusion. I was like, oh man, I want to do that. Like I really want to try doing that.
It's a
So I
bit
was
like
trying-
it's a bit like fingerprinting. Each
Yeah.
image that you generate, you'll not get back the same. If you ran the same prompt again, you'll
No,
get an
you won't
image
get-
like that, but it'll not be the exact same image
exactly.
all over again. So
So
I think
that-
that is
that I
something
think-
in the future
Yeah.
that needs to be sorted out.
For it to become a viable competitive platform with traditional media, where like you have an actor and they're doing something and then the ad is based around that, or the movie or whatever is based around that, to get more viability out of this platform, there needs to be some level of control over that like okay, you've generated this person, AI must remember what this guy's face looks like, and then you're now trying to do other things with that person. Unless and until you scan, I guess, unless and until you train the AI on a person's face, then the AI knows, because you type in the name of that person, the AI will generate exactly that person. There's a couple of people who've shared models of like some Asian people, I don't know, and I was like, okay, how good is the AI to generate the same person when I use that particular model? And when I did that, it was consistently generating the right faces, and I was like, okay, fine. So the AI, as long as it's trained on data and you ask it to generate something, it'll generate something properly for you. But if it's untrained, if it's purely 100% generated, the AI cannot, like, you can't train you have to like reverse train the AI on its own generation. Which is just kind of ridiculous. Like, if I want the same, I was like, okay, I like this guy's face, I need to use this guy's face, but I don't have enough data to train the AI to remember this face. That is the problem. Because I think to train the AI,
I think
you need like
the future is all about data. I mean, it's even now more. I mean, a lot of data is going to get stolen, and I mean, some sectors of the economy are worried, and I think they should be rightfully worried. I don't blame them. It's because you could literally ask ChatGPT to write you a prompt about a man standing on a mountain, or a man standing like Tom Cruise standing on the street, looking at the camera, raining, umbrellas everywhere of red and black color, for example. You put that into ChatGPT, and you tell GPT to come up with a whole prompt for you. And then you just copy paste that. So natural language being interpreted into prompts, and then prompts, which are also kind of a natural language, but it just, structured language.
semi-natural.
That's
The
going
syntax is
into,
different, that's all.
yeah, it's easier than, doing any other programming language that I've ever done. So let's just accept it. If you want to teach someone how to do programming, maybe start them with prompting rather than learning Python or whatever,
I would
and
still
then
say
get
start
them
them-
into functional language.
I would still say start them with Scratch. Scratch is probably the best way to start. It gives you a visual way of understanding how programming works. And then
So
go
what is
into-
Scratch? Is that the Apple's, or
No,
is that
no, no.
Swift?
Scratch is
So what is
Scratch
Scratch?
is an independent. It's an independent thing. It's a kind of visual programming language. So you
Okay.
write a function, and it visually represents it on like a little map,
No, yeah.
and then you can drag
screen.
and drop. You can drag it away. You can drag into different places and play. Say, oh, okay, fine. In this function, then you break it open, and then you say, in this function, I wanted to do these things, and then each of those things that you wanted to do, they are represented by visual blocks, and then you can then go into each of those things. So it's a very visual way of programming. A lot of kids are taught that in school, and it's a very very good way to actually.
I don't know if our
to
kids
use-
are being taught that here in this curriculum, but yeah.
No, it's in the
I
Australian
hope they do,
curriculum.
yeah.
Bro, no, it's in the
Oh, is
Australian
it?
curriculum.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank
Once
God.
your child
Yeah.
goes to, I think, year 6 or year 7. Actually, no, even in primary school, bro, they're doing it on their iPads. So people actually teach it in primary school. So once your child turns 6 or 7, they'll be doing like, stuff in Scratch. They'll be making small games in Scratch and stuff. Which is
That's
great.
nice.
And this is what, when I look at this stuff, I'm like, हमारे time पे कहाँ था ये सब? Like, where was all this stuff when I was studying programming?
Yeah,
It
it's
would've made-
I mean, I
would've
guess
made life
it's
so
pros
easy.
and cons. Yeah, so I think we had a simpler childhood compared to the childhood that's approaching
that's
for the new children here. I think things
Bro,
are going
try
to get
explaining
complicated.
AI
But
to your
look,
child, bro.
we still have, a long way to go with all this generative AI tech, like stable diffusion. But thing is that it definitely will take away a lot of jobs in many different industries. And I know at the moment a lot of people are thinking, oh, you know what? It's only going to take away if you're in media, or if you're
No.
actors are still going to be there.
Everybody's
Actors
gonna
will be
have
there, but I think in the future it'll be just likeness. If you're going to generate 30-second ad or 20-second ad, you don't need DiCaprio to rock up there. You just get his likeness.
Yeah,
pay
there's
him
a guy
couple
who
of mils.
trained on the stable diffusion thing. He actually trained a model on Tom Cruise, and it's pretty it's legit, bro. Like you can use it, and it's Tom Cruise. Like
especially if you're gonna do billboards, you don't need Tom Cruise to
you don't
rock
need
up
Tom
and take a
Cruise to rock
photograph
up.
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You just pay
He will
him
say,
for
all
his
right, you want to take a
likeness.
photograph, you pay me $1 million. If you want to use my likeness, you pay me $500,000.
Yeah,
It's like-
exactly.
yeah. So I think, and the other thing is this, right? If you had to wear prosthetics or makeup on your face for a photo session, you will save those 6 hours, because now you just take a photograph and then they can just use digital, tools and stable diffusion to create a face mask for you, like tattoos on your body and stuff like that. They can use all that.
Oh yeah, you
to
can do that. Yeah,
generate that,
tattoos and stuff. Yeah, and
Right,
they do it very
so
convincingly, as well.
especially in still images, and they can do a very convincing job, right? So
Yeah.
I think that my experience so far, to tie this one up, is that I actually have no use case in my current role
Nobody
as
does.
to
Don't
how
worry,
I
it's not just you.
do,
Nobody
do
does.
the job. For me, just a fun activity to actually visualize things that I'm thinking. The main thing is this: it's instant gratification and instant delivery
That's true.
for what you're visualizing. So if you're reading
But
a
I'll
book,
tell you
and
one
wanna
thing, right?
visualize,
I'll tell you one thing.
yeah.
The people who are actually gonna win the most at the moment from all this stuff are people like Brandon Sanderson, right? They want to visualize some
I
kind
was
of a
about to
fight
just
scene.
say that.
They want to visualize some kind of a fight scene instead of sitting down and writing things and going, okay, okay, he's jumped from the left to the right. Where is he now standing? What's the positioning happening? Instead of spending hours and hours thinking about how the positioning is supposed to be, they can just write a prompt, generate a scene, and then using that scene, they can just write their books,
Yeah,
And
in
also-
the future, I think digital storytelling is going to make a big comeback. Like, children's books and all that, they're going to make a big comeback where you basically create a framework of the boundaries within which you want images to generate. So let's say I have a children's book where the kid is hanging out with the dinosaur. The dinosaur has come over for a sleepover, for example.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Sleepover dinosaur, and now you've set the boundaries as to you
Teddy
want
the T-Rex comes
dinosaur
over
to-
for a sleepover.
Yeah, Teddy the T-Rex or something. Yeah, Teddy and T-Rex come over for a sleepover. So when they come, you have that children's book. So what's happening within that element is that you've articulated the boundaries as to where it needs to be. It needs to be around the house, in the backyard. You set up certain things, right? How the house overall needs to look, the aesthetic, right? And the art style, whether it's color, actually you don't even need to do that. And the thing is that as the kid is reading these digital flip books, his experience is based on what his favorite color of dinosaur is and what kind of teddy does he like. Is it more fluffy or less? Or, do they want to have cereal for breakfast? Or, when they sleep at night, do they want a tent with a starry thing? So you create the far away the creativity can travel for the kid is how far the Gen AI imagery is going to travel.
I think
you're going to read these fantasy books with big worlds, when you're reading them, and if you buy into this, like on Amazon or whatever, you buy the traditional book, which is just prose, like just text on paper. And then you have the digital storytelling, where you got the music which is being generated, you got the audio, the dialogue
books
that's
are
being
amazing, bro.
generated. And on top of that, you got your Gen AI, certain illustrations, like those Alan Lee kind of illustrations whatever illustrations are happening at certain parts of the chapter, whatever might, it's going to change the way, it's going to be game changing,
but that's
the
the
way
thing.
people
It's like-
consume that.
It's like you have to become a
Digital
different type
storybooks.
of. No. What's gonna happen is traditional storytelling and traditional methods of doing storytelling is gonna go to the side with this kind of technology, and you're now gonna have a new type of creative individual coming forward. Somebody who's super digitally literate, somebody who understands how to deliver the story in a digital format. They are the ones who are going to be successful. So, and it's only going to be limited by your creativity. The more creative you are, the more you can push your creativity, the more you understand the AI to be able to push its limit with the prompts or whatever, That's how much better it'll be. And that's interesting, actually. For the first time
Very
in a long
interesting.
time, writers are going to actually have fun.
I hope so. All right. So the next one is we're going to veer off and watch another video. And
Pepsi, Tesla.
this is the Pepsi one. And I found this on Vimeo, actually. I'm going to skip through a couple of parts because it's about 12-15 minutes. We'll put the link in the description so people can have a look. All right. And let me screen share.
On Vimeo. Interesting, man. I haven't seen any videos.
Yeah,
on
because I'm
Vimeo
not
for a
sure
long
why
time.
it was not on YouTube, but there you go.
Who selected the music? God damn it.
Yeah, I think it's one of the vendors.
Very excited to be here in Sacramento, California with Pepsi. This is a very busy site, like a
Yeah, it's
lot of
definitely
freight
the vendor.
logistics locations are. It's open 24/7, moving beverages around Northern California. So if you thought these Tesla semis were a bit like Bigfoots, maybe you heard about them, maybe saw a picture, a fuzzy one, but you weren't sure they were real or not. We're here to show you that they are real. They're hauling real beverages for Pepsi here in Northern California. Zero emission, delivering goods every day.
Zero emission.
So those are your
doubt it's zero
Sacramento
big
is one of our
superchargers.
locations that really embodies our commitment to climate and our PepsiCo positive ambition.
You got a BYD
Facility
truck
is
there as well,
powered
bro.
By solar. We've got 21
Next to
Tesla
it.
electric semis. They're associated for 750 kilowatt chargers, electric
Look at that, it's a
yard
BYD.
tractors, electric e-transits, and lithium-ion forklifts inside the warehouse here. Battery electric vehicles are essential for us, and it's really grounded in our duty cycle, i.e. how we use our assets, because the good majority of our business is anchored in going to market. We deliver.
She has the right mix
predominantly
of
under
business
100 miles
jargon
on a
and
daily basis and run those
technical
vehicles
jargon.
around 12 hours
Pause
a
correct
day.
one
So
sec.
with that duty cycle, we feel that the
So
battery
she's
electric
going
vehicle
like,
is
she's
most
saying all these words like duty cycle, and then she says,
This cycle and that thing.
no. And this is where, like, I look at this stuff and sometimes I go, look at how much, like, even spoken language has changed, right? She says
yeah,
that,
it has,
we go
yeah.
into a duty cycle. Instead of saying, by that I mean, she says, i.e., and she just continues
Yeah,
talking. And
IE.
I'm like, IE is written English, not spoken English. Like,
Yeah.
it's like language has changed so much, bro.
It has. It's especially business Japan.
However, given the load of which is required to run the semis and charge at the times that we need, 0 to 80% in 45 minutes, we required a lot more integration
0 to
and work to
80%
be
of
done
45
with that
minutes.
infrastructure.
Wow.
good infrastructure design.
Yeah, so I think they have packs as well where they store energy from the solar. It gets stored, and they're using that in tandem with
serves
proper
the customer
energy from the
and
grid
serves
as
the
well.
utility.
I think the trick is what's the right combination to manage that power or that load? How can we set that up in a way that meets operational needs, but is also beneficial for the grid and our customers in keeping infrastructure costs low? Whether that's on-site battery, whether that's automated load management software that's minimizing.
So he just
the
mentioned
power.
automated load management software. That was a mouthful. But this software here is also where they're using AI. The AI actually decides whether you should transfer to the grid or whether you should use the stored battery energy. There's a whole business, a whole industry behind it where automated load management is happening at the moment, and they're using AI for it as well.
Power distribution amongst different vehicles and load sharing based on operational
Although
needs.
that AI doesn't
Even
have to be
though
that
new-
sophisticated. It's not necessary that it's that sophisticated of an AI. It's probably a small reduced operation set that it just needs to worry about. So yeah, play.
Service applications and process is something that is not new. Sometimes working with the utility is not easy, and that really helps when you have an advocate that's in there with you during the project. And so we were there, and the interconnection of the battery was something new for us. And so it was really good that we had that level of collaboration with both Pepsi and Tesla.
So I think what's going on here is that this thing is still so complicated.
Yeah.
The whole idea of running fleets and managing the energy between different vehicles, charging them, and maintaining that infrastructure, that it has to be outsourced. So it looks like Pepsi themselves are not doing it. They've actually given the job to someone else to do that. So it's not that easy, basically.
No, because it's not that easy because the infrastructure is not there. That's the problem, and people don't understand the kind of underlying technology. Like, with petrol engines, you understand, bro. We've had decades and decades and decades and decades of petrol engines. Everybody understands what happens with the petrol engine. Everybody understands that, okay, if something goes wrong, it's most likely this, it's most likely that. But with electric cars, it's like, well, like what happens? Like,
So I think. Yeah, that's where I think the emergence will happen, right, of all these
Being
new
in a
sectors
good
of the
truck,
economy,
comfortable, drive great. It makes
where
a world of difference on my day.
they're managing fleet that runs on electric. They're managing, the whole movement of logistics, not from a perspective of how much energy is required. It's also about making sure that they're always on the road, right? So, and I think that over time, at the moment, what has happened, the way the energy, all this technological change in energy and delivery of energy is actually impacting logistics companies as well. So the logistic companies, they are running on traditional ICE vehicles, right? Now, what happens is that when you're looking at something like energy systems where they are all digitizing and they're moving to renewable, that is fine. It's being generated somewhere else and then it's getting delivered to you. But once the energy is delivered to you, you're also dealing with these pieces of machinery that is running on electric. And the people who made the vehicles for you, they have offloaded that responsibility onto you now.
Exactly.
I mean, yes, you can charge that, but when you have to run a 24-hour cycle, it's more commercial. For that, then it's going to create these kind of businesses that specialize in making sure. Basically, it's a service that makes sure that you're always charged.
It's
you're always juiced up.
Yeah, it's fragmentation.
Correct.
Essentially. There's going to be like now more people who jump into, and that'll be only for a while. It'll only be for like a couple of years, maybe a decade or so, maybe even half a decade. There'll be these companies that come up with solutions on how to make sure that your vehicles are 100% juiced all the time. And then in 5 or 10 or 15 years time, that entire operation will become purely software managed, and then those companies will not need to exist anymore.
I mean, think about it. You have, in the future, you'll have a company that is running completely on AI, running vehicles that are also running on AI, and getting paid in digital currency like Bitcoin. So you'll have AI owning Bitcoin. And that AI then can start to think about, okay, how can I allocate that asset? I've made this income. How is the best way I could actually use this asset to compound my money? And it could go onto the stock market. The company's AI can go onto the stock market, put the money there, and literally buy at the bottom, sell at the top, take that money, and then build and expand that business. Literally create that business to buy even more fleets of vehicles.
I think it's not going to be as. What you're explaining is a bit more utopic. I think it's not. I don't think
it's doomsday.
I don't think that's going to be like that at all. I think it's going to be a lot more like, as long as humans are in the mix, there's going to be chaos. Like, regardless of how much AI makes it like a level playing field. And humans are going to make sure that they're always in the mix. Okay. Always. There's always
humans are in the mix, but it's still terrifying sometimes. I mean, where I like to operate is right where it's a right mix of terrifying, utopia, and the excitement of that cutting edge technology. Like, if it's not terrifying to me, it is not exciting technology to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So on that note, I've got another one for you, mate. So Balaji, I think I follow him on Twitter. He's really good. And check this out, bro.
Oh, yes.
This is one of those Boston Dynamic videos, man. Check that out. So the involvement of the human is that involvement that is happening there. That's my definition of involvement.
No, but the human beings.
Mate, look at the shoes, mate. Look at those sneakers.
Look
Look
at them
good.
flash
Look at
shoes, them Nikes.
Look at them, like, look at that. Look at the limb movement on this thing, man. You know, and that's 2009, 2011.
3 years.
Let's jump forward a bit, you know. Right. Yeah, there you go. Oh, do some push-ups, mate. Come on. You know,
Not
get that
not
fluid
he
running in
needs
your
to do
body.
push-ups, but whatever.
Oh my, look at that. That is, now
like
look
some-
at that. That is
some
straight out of
Terminator
my
thing.
Russian,
That's like some
that's a
Terminator
Russian
thing right
Chernobyl nightmare waiting to happen, you know.
It's a Russian Terminator.
Look at that. Look at that's like a Russian Terminator. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, look at that.
I take you.
So that's 2013. Oh, mate, do some, yeah, mate. There
Some
you go.
jumping jacks.
Oh, yeah. Do some jumping jacks. There you go, mate.
Some
There you
squats.
go. He's still being held together by,
Yeah,
you know,
by the
a bunch of
wires,
wire and everything.
Because I think the tech was too heavy.
Oh, my. Check that out. Check that out.
I remember seeing this back in 2013. Yeah, I remember seeing the Atlas bot, and I was pretty surprised. by how good it was.
I'm going to tell you right now, you have seen nothing yet. You know, we have seen nothing yet. This is public. This is publicly available information. Can you imagine what they're doing in the basement, mate?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what the defense is doing in the basement? Look at
DOD
that.
is doing
Look
it. Oh,
at
there we
that,
go.
mate. Opening
Unassisted,
doors.
mate. Unassisted.
There you go. This is unassisted. There you go. Going out for a
Bro,
stroll.
this is just in the. This is under 10 years, bro. Under 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going out for a stroll in the snow.
Yeah. Go catch some rabbits. Oh.
Oh,
Don't fall over, bro.
slippery.
Oh, don't do that. No, no. Oh my God! Look at
It's okay,
that.
bro. Our children,
you go.
you know, when we grow old, right? Our caretakers are gonna be robots.
Our children will leave us in aged care, and they'll leave us right there with these guys. You know,
Yeah, I know.
it'll be these people here who will be bringing us all our food, helping us wipe our ass. Look at that. Mate, this thing's gonna check it out.
That can be in a horror movie.
So this is when I got introduced to Boston Dynamics, when they started jumping on top of things. This was actually my first video before I actually even heard of them.
Okay.
In 2017 is when I found out about, I think 2018 when they went viral. This is where the internet started noticing them, basically. Before that, the internet gave a flying fuck about what they were doing, right?
That's right. I
And
remember watching the Atlas
check
one,
this
and I
out.
was like, oh yeah, Atlas, this looks amazing.
yeah,
Now it's jogging though.
they have a dog as well. I think in
Yeah, I know, the
2018,
dog,
19 they introduced the dog.
The dog is being used by military though. It's literally being used by the
Yeah,
military.
yeah, military and construction sites. Yeah, look at that, mate. You know, just rolling around, flipping.
Rolling,
Look at that.
rolling, rolling.
That attaboy. Attaboy. That's a good one, mate. That's great.
That's 9 out of 10.
Oh my, this is the one. This is the one. This is where during COVID they just went AWOL, man. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You can do the full ninja, what do you call it? The American ninja.
Oh my. Oh yeah. This is better than Scott Atkins, mate. Look at that. You know. Look at this.
Scott Atkins.
check this out, man. Look at this.
Maybe Scott Atkins trained them.
Right.
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, Scott Atkins, man. He's my man. Look at this.
He plays that guy, right? Killa.
The next John Wick is just going to be this. It's just going to be a bunch of robots. Look at this, man. You know? Look at
John's
this.
consciousness is going to be in one of those Boston Robotics.
We don't need Terminator to come from the future. It's already,
already
here, man.
here.
We made it. We don't need to wait for Arnold to come back. Yeah. I mean, but I think this is the real application. So this is what they're now saying that they want. It can
Oh,
think.
bro, I've got that particular table saw. That's what I've got.
There you go, mate. So soon enough, this thing will be using it. It'll actually carry the table saw like RoboCop in its backpack.
in its
And we'll just take it out, saw it.
Oh, it's carrying
Look at
the
this.
weight
So
of
now,
it.
yeah, it's not thinking things. It's able to do things. Look at that.
Construction applications, right?
Construction. He's like up there, oh,
Take
mate,
it, mate.
pass it on, mate. It's like
Timber.
timber.
He's basically just doing Mario.
Now you're just showing off. Now you're just showing off, mate. Now you're just showing off.
Doing the whole
thanks,
game.
TikTok. Yeah. So, this is exactly where I like to keep the show, which is it's a mix of terrifying, cutting edge technology. If it's not terrifying, it's not cutting edge enough. Like, it doesn't get me excited.
If it's not terrifying, it's not
only
exciting.
I can get
It's not
excited.
exciting. It's not cutting edge. You know.
Yeah, it
It's
has
not
to be that
cutting edge,
mix.
What's the point? What's the point? You know?
Yeah, it needs to. If you watch that thing, it needs to scare the shit out of you. Like,
At some
as to
level, it
what
has
is
to
to
scare
come,
you.
know?
Yeah, no, I agree. So,
Yeah,
At
that
some
is. I
level,
think
it
that
has
is
to
what
scare you.
exciting technology is.
I think the future is going to be
Yeah.
a mix of the Matrix, Terminator, and the Matrix, Terminator, and some kind of Mad Max situation. You know, it's going to be like all three together. The humanity is like corralled into like these small settlements.
Since the name of our show is CitizenBot, and in a weird way, I've been thinking about bots a lot on the weekend because I came across some news where they've been talking about how software could literally influence things in the future. It could change the outcome of elections.
It's already doing it.
At the moment, yes, it's human controlled, but in the future, if they run some huge
Campaign.
billions of lines of code of a model or for a campaign, and that model decides that unequivocally
Unequivocally, yeah.
we need this president not to win and this prime minister to win, or this cabinet member not to proceed a person's point because based on their
History,
the model is telling us that this is not safe or won't be safe for humanity as to whatever they deem it to be correct, we could have outcomes. And software can now write software.
Yeah.
So as I said before, you have AI whip up in a matter of minutes a whole piece of application. It programs an entire application so it can start receiving funds. It receives funds. Now you got software that owns money, and then it takes action on using that money, right? So, it is terrifying. It could actually this bot army can get on the internet, which is run by AI, and create all these stories and create this whole narrative, like War of the Worlds level narrative I'm talking about, where it could scare the shit out of people and cause mass hysteria. Right. So this at the moment, what I'm about to show you is not AI made, but if AI did it, this same event would be on steroids. Right. So let me share this one as well. And check this, man.
With me is Chief of Transit. Earlier today at about 1:30,
Don't forget to mention all the important people.
NYPD became aware of a crowd forming in Union Square. It was quickly determined that an influencer was posting on social media about showing up to Union Square and was encouraging all of his followers to come to the park. There were some posts also about giving away some gaming systems. At approximately 3 p.m., the post went viral, and thousands of people began to arrive at Union Square. Soon the park and the surrounding streets were overrun with people. They were obstructing both vehicular and pedestrian traffic. The NYPD responded by calling a mobilization in response to the large crowd. As the crowd grew, so did our mobilization. The crowd was swarmed when the influencer finally arrived at the park. Individuals in the park began to commit acts of violence towards the police and the public. There was a construction site within the Union.
Now, this is a different kind of
Union
jargon
Square
compared to corporate
Park.
jargon. You know what?
And people broke into the park and they began to throw articles that belonged to the
who was the
construction
influencer?
site. Paint cans, bottles.
I don't know.
rocks. You had people walking around with
Probably
shovels,
says in the comments, maybe.
Kai
axes, and other tools from the construction trade.
Whoever that guy is.
And additionally,
Kai
individuals
Senate
also
tried
lighted
to hold a huge
fireworks,
giveaway
and they
that
were
turned into a
throwing them
riot.
towards the police. They were throwing them
So how
towards
is
each
Look
other.
at that,
Can you
man.
pause this a second?
The influencer, we were able to
So how
eventually
is this?
We
an
can continue
AI
talking, man.
How
Yeah.
is this an AI thing?
is not an AI thing.
Oh, it's
but
just-
I
it's
thought
just-
that,
okay,
just to show you that you have an influencer
Yeah.
do this, right? And all these events, right, in the news, and all this is being right now stored, archived. This event is archived now. And this event's complete workflow, chain of events, I would call it, is now been archived and noted down as to exactly how mass hysteria was created, as to how chaos was created. We have a formula now, unintentionally, we have now stored all this information where the chief himself is laying down exactly the chain of events that happened to lead to this chaos that ensued.
Chaos, yeah.
Right? The AI in the future, the bots, right? You can just program them to create this kind of hysteria. And if you start thinking for itself, we can start getting creative, mate. I'm telling you, mate. You're going to have traffic jams. You're going to have prams, being, run over by trucks. You're going to have shopping trolleys all over the place, mate. It'll be absolute
Utter
fucking
chaos.
World War IV level
All right,
chaos,
so-
And this guy was giving away some console, mate. Like bunch of consoles he was giving away. So you can
Anyway,
imagine.
Let me share something, because I think this is very appropriate. What I'm gonna share right now. This is where I think our masters are gonna actually eventually go to. Okay. So let's all enjoy this clip for a second.
The machine's artificial intelligence could be seen in every facet of man's society, including eventually the creation of new and better AI.
This is so relevant. I can't believe it.
If you need the flexibility of a helipod with the speed of a high-performance air jet, look no further. Our patented vector thrust coil gives the 0-1 versatrain the ability.
Yeah, what is that we did not realize is that even the ads were back then made by AI. I mean, it's being suggested by the episode, the show, that the ad itself, not only the
Versatile.
product, the ad itself is being by
The ad itself was generated by the AI.
That's
what
which,
this thing
which
is
I did not
showing me.
realize.
It's like
Yeah, this
You
was so
see-
ahead of its time.
you see
this
this
episode.
right now, and you're like, what the hell? Like, it's actually happening. It's real. Like, it's about to happen
It is
any day
happening.
now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
AI creating more AI and creating more machines, which create other machines for like the human
Correct.
beings.
So yes, that's what I'm saying. That this here, what AI is great at, what people don't realize in terms of, there are many types of models. There are many types of AI applications, but the one that is the most at the moment famous, I would say, more upfront, more in the public eye,
GPT.
is generative AI. GPT, Mid-Journey, all that. Generative AI. Generative AI can create bots, and bots can cause mass hysteria. They can create images with super realism that you cannot tell that they're not real by saying that, that an earthquake happened up in, God knows where. And you've got robots coming out of the, tarmac. They're taking over. And, you would not be able to tell, and it might do it on an April Fool's Day, thinking that, I was just playing
fun.
with you.
It was just for some fun.
It was just for fun.
Why are you guys so serious?
Human beings do it. Yeah, why are you guys so serious? Human beings do it. I just thought I'll do it on April the 1st, right? So, my dangerous territory we're heading in at the moment.
But exciting as well.
All right. Exciting as well. Terrifying and exciting at the same time. That's how we like to keep it here.
Exactly.
All right. So, before we end on a very high note, I think this here is a news article that I just came across yesterday about nuclear. Oppenheimer, the movie's come out. I've not seen it. I know what it is about. No spoilers here. But what is with people's... It's a piece of tech.
Mm-hmm.
Nuclear technology is a piece of tech. What is it? Why is there so much fear against nuclear? It's because all the fallouts that have happened before. I mean, not fallout, I guess,
I think it's mostly World
the
War.
disasters like Chernobyl 1 and the one in Japan that recently happened, I think a decade.
I'll tell you what it
decades
is.
ago, I can't
I'll tell you what
remember.
it is. It's the fact that we, as a generation, our generation, and the few generations before us and a couple of them that are after us, we have been scared by educational propaganda, right? That in our educational books, America was the one who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and it decimated, basically destroyed the Japanese people for a long time. Like, those cities, they were uninhabitable. People had all sorts of diseases, and it was just a massive, massive, massive bad thing that happened. Then you couple that with the fallouts that have happened in Chernobyl, and the most recent one that happened in Tokyo, not in Tokyo, in Japan, right? I forgot, but there's some seaside town where the tsunami happened, and after the tsunami, it just was like a chain reaction. The reactor also just completely collapsed, and it was a complete nuclear fallout. It was really bad. And
they started dumping cold water into it, and now I think they've sealed it or something.
Yeah, they've sealed it or something is
what's
going
really
on.
going on there.
But the thing is,
it's never been clear how they did it and what
exactly.
they did. Yeah.
And what's happening is you have people with ulterior motives as well. So you have organizations, you've got groups who are, for whatever reason, they are
the cartels.
They are pro environmental. They're environmentalists, right? And environmentalists come in all kinds of shapes and flavors and types, right? You get the diplomatic environmentalists, and you get the active, the freaking, what do you call it, the terrorist type environmentalists also. You get the really scary type environmentalists.
Greenpeace motherfuckers. Yeah.
Greenpeace, PETA, whatever you want to call them. They're all kinds. They all come in all flavors. PETA actually thinks that a life of a human is worth less than the life of an animal. They literally, a lot of their members in the upper echelon, they believe firmly that animal life is a lot more sacred than human life. And even the PETA president said some really absurd things. There's this one video of her going around saying that, she's happy for herself to be barbecued or something, just so that her body can raise awareness about eating meat. And this is what happens when you go on vegan. Your brain on vegan doesn't work, mate. Okay,
brain just shuts down when you eat food that your food eats. Then your brain is definitely going to go down that path.
Your brain does not work on vegan. It works on meat.
Yeah, he's eating rabbit food. You're eating rabbit food. You got to turn into a rabbit. That's what's going to happen, right? Okay. Anyway. So this one here.
So I mean, let me finish what I'm trying to say. So people are scared of nuclear, and you've got these people who actually take those stories and then they amplify it, because they know how to use social media, they know how to use Facebook, they know how to use all these different avenues. They just freaking amplify it. Plus, the news, it's a bit more lefty, so they'll go, oh yeah, might, it's all bad. And then nuclear energy is one of the best forms of energy, bro. In terms of getting energy, purely energy, the efficiency, the amount of efficiency you can have with the amount of energy it generates efficiently is insane. Coal can't give you that, which is what China is burning. China is burning coal like crazy.
Yeah. So if you look at this article here, coming to the whole, the amount, environmental experts say proposals are too expensive and will come too late to meet energy needs.
Which environmental experts?
Sweden criticized our plan to build at least 10 nuclear reactors. So Sweden is going all out. They've seen the writing on the wall that we can't just keep relying on Russia.
Yeah.
We can't just keep relying on Russia for our energy sources. We need to create our own.
Look at what's happening.
They've decided that they're going to do it in the next 20 years.
Look at what's happening in Germany. In Germany, there is a serious crisis of energy at the moment. Because Germany is going full of greenhouse, right? They're going full green. And they can't generate enough electricity or enough energy for the whole country. They're having trouble. And Sweden's mate, no way we're going to get into that situation. But bro, 20 nuclear reactors is a lot for a small country, bro. They're going to become exporters.
No, they're going to do 10 in 20 years. 10 in 20 years with 6 reactors in operation in Forsmark, Oskarshamn, and Ringhals, accounting for 30% of its electricity production.
That is a lot. That is very
so they already currently have
6 reactors.
So plan 10 new, and with 6 in just that area. Because I think that's where most population might be. Sorry, I don't know much about Sweden. I haven't traveled there, but I think what is interesting to me is the cost analysis and the political, you know, the politics behind the political drama that's unfolding behind it. So Sweden will partly lose the profile. Now the momentum and progression is coming from EU and Brussels. So on a global stage, the EU, right, they have a Fit for 55 plan, which legally requires member states to reduce emissions by at least 55% by 2030 and become climate neutral by 2050. So I think they have a coalition government, and the left and the right, the liberals, everybody together, they've decided that, you know what, they're going to invest in nuclear. And how they're going to make it profitable, they're not sure, but I think they have certain plans in place, which is, you know, they're going to have some credit guarantees and change to certain pricing. But the taxpayer is the one who's going to pay for all of that. And I think they're diverting for, it's saying here that biggest environment organization in Sweden has accused the government of attempting to divert focus on climate issues. They're diverting focus from what is really needed currently, which is to produce enough electricity by 2030. So
yeah, Sweden is
not sure how they're doing that.
People are going. Sure. Sweden is basically going, we need electricity. What are you guys complaining about? We're gonna run out of gas, water, electricity.
Yeah, so there is definitely a lot of people who are against. So the Sweden's reputation as a green leader on the global stage was shifting. So I guess they're trying to get back on that track as being a global leader. So they made that jump faster than everybody else.
Now Sweden, by creating nuclear reactors, they're not going to be a green leader anymore. They're going to be like the black sheep. But here's the thing.
Because I think but they're smart, Mike. They know that eventually we do not want to be in a place where we are dependent on another country for our energy.
Exactly. Yeah. So Sweden is, okay, in Europe, if Sweden is doing something, that means they've actually got like some legit reason for that. Okay. What are we should be doing that in here, bro. Australia, like literally people are like dying.
But we got all that coal, mate, all those jobs, you know, now we got to keep it all going. We got the housing industry, we got the mining, you know, we got it's called the prime industries or the primary industries. Mate, you know, Australia's, you know, is a great place, no doubt, if you have a family, and overall the quality of life is just amazing. I met someone the other day who spent 15 years in America, and they have now migrated to Australia. And they said that in comparison to America, here things are really chilled and laid back. In Australia, compared to in America, it's like go, you know. So it wasn't like he was working on Wall Street or anything. He just, you know, had a normal accounting job. But he was just saying that overall culture over there is just much more tight and it's hustle culture. And the reason I think we have that gift of, you know, where we have that balance in family, at work, or whatever, you call it, whatever, you know, rocks your boat in a way. In Australia, everybody's got their own boat and they're going at their own pace. It might be going all in for everybody in the same direction. We can't control that because the river is flowing that way, the current is flowing that way. But overall, you can take your time. You don't need to be, you know, the first in the marathon. It's more of a marathon than a sprint. Let's just say that. And philosophically speaking, the reason why that is allowed for is because we have the resources that other countries want. We are a huge exporter of, you know, gas. Hydro is coming up. And
now they don't want us to use gas. They don't want us to use our own gas now. They
don't want us to use gas. They don't want us to use our own coal. But our coal is much more cleaner. Huh? Correct. So
they're just bottling it up and sending it overseas because it's more profitable.
Yeah, Japan is buying from us. A lot of countries are buying from us.
And they're telling like new house construction, by the way, from now on until the end of whenever it is. No gas, no more. You can't cook your curries anymore.
Energy, yeah, seriously, man. No woks. I mean, you can't have a wok. So if you're an Asian household without a wok is...
Bro, you know what's going to happen?
It's not Asian kitchen without Asian wok.
You want to know what's going to happen now? See, now things are going to get dangerous, okay? What people are going to do is they're going to buy all those, you know, gas ovens, those gas stoves that have like the gas like canister attached. Okay, they're gonna go to super
that
gas.
is
They're gonna go
not
to all these
safe.
other gas places, and they're gonna buy these gas things, and they're gonna just how they use for the Barbie, right? But instead of a Barbie with a hot plate, they're gonna have like open air walks. I'm telling you, bro, this industry is gonna like explode now. You just go to like China,
Walk,
bring all
yeah.
these walk like
Outdoor walk,
outdoor
yeah.
walk cooking things. We're gonna make money, mint, bro, mint होने वाला है पैसा अभी.
Yeah, I think if you are listening, what's that famous all these barbecue
Yeah.
but like Weber
Weber
and
barbecue providers.
all these barbecue brands, right? If you guys are listening, now's the time to get in because.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if you're not allowed to have gas stoves in the house, would gas stoves be even sold?
Bro,
Yes, you'll have camping gear.
Yeah.
You'll have camping gear, but it's not that powerful. It does not have that much gas flow through
you
it
can
to
buy
do a
gas.
walk.
You can buy the gas stuff from like 7-Eleven, right? You can just go
Like
and
swap
pick up
and
a
go.
gas.
Like
you
gas
can
cylinders from the
get
petrol
the gas
station.
cylinder
Yeah.
from Swap and Go, and there'll be some. Bro, people are gonna figure it out. If it's not sold,
People
it's
will
gonna
figure
get.
it out.
It's gonna be even more dangerous.
Human ingenuity, mate. You can't.
If it's not sold, it's gonna
people will
it's
figure
gonna
it
get
out.
even more dangerous. People are gonna just DIY that thing. Seriously.
But mate, I am not getting into a house where they're
Where there is no
not
gas.
going to allow me to have gas.
No, bro, I'm not getting
I
into a house
will
either.
fucking, I will never ever go to that state where it's happening in Victoria. I'd rather move out from here
Yeah, I'd
if they
rather
don't
move
allow
out
me to
too.
have a gas stove.
Yeah.
So if they allow me to have a gas stove outdoors, like in my backyard, then I think they should allow that. So you can have your walk or
As a
if you're gonna do
compromise,
high
yeah. Okay, if you're
intensity
gonna
heat.
have, So I pay for
As
the
a
gas.
compromise,
I buy
right?
from.
If
I
they
buy from
say that
7-Eleven.
you cannot have gas stoves in your backyard either, then it's a deal breaker for me.
deal
I'm gonna
breaker,
move out. As much as I love Melbourne, I think I'm gonna move away from it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work.
I'll just go to where our other friends are. Go to Perth, and just chill over there in the warm weather.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway.
All right. So as you know, as part of the it's been kind of a unintentionally became a tradition where you and me we look at all these crazy technocratic videos that are coming out of China as to what
There's
the
a reason
government
for
is
that,
doing
though.
there, how they're using technology. Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
And for the last 2-3 episodes, we kind of been
The reason
have
is
one video an episode. So I've decided to keep this tradition going now. I've got one.
There's a
thing to
reason.
show
There's
you
a reason for that. By the way,
before
It's
you
not- it's not-
decide to drop off.
It's not completely unintentional. There's a reason. The reason is that if China is doing it right now, it's gonna be in your country in like the next 3-4 years. It'll be there.
Soon.
100%.
Soon,
Guaranteed.
coming.
Like it's gonna be there.
coming, man.
China
Get
is
ready,
like China is like.
Whether
and-
AI takes your job or not, but they're definitely using AI for all this other
But
stuff.
here's the
So-
thing: a lot of the technologies that are implemented in China and they're currently running in China are developed by Western countries. They're developed by Western universities. You know that whole camera thing that we saw, right? It's actually I think it's developed by one of Australia University. Even the the
Australia's
camera,
always been good at developing this kind of tech,
The facial-
like when
the
it comes to
facial
sports
recognition.
technology and
the facial
Yeah.
recognition technology that's being used in China is I think it was developed in University of New South Wales or something. It was like or in Sydney.
we
somewhere.
develop a lot of stuff that we don't use. We just export it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're good at that
Because it's too
Yeah.
hot. Because it won't be allowed in Australia. That's why, bro.
Correct. Yeah, it won't be allowed here because people, Aussies have a great ability. We as a country here have this great ability to actually see for things for what they are. Not all of the time, but most of the time, which is they really able to call out the bullshit. Like really, but people have a knack for understanding that this guy is bullshitting me, right?
Yeah.
So, that's one thing we have going for us, I think, compared to a lot of other nations. But anyway, for now, let's enjoy this. Look at other people's misery.
Don't get public shamed. There it is. Look at this guy. Oof, got him.
Yeah. I saw
Oh,
that.
got her, dude. Oh, no. Oh. So, just so you guys know, do not jaywalk in China. You will be shamed.
See that?
Don't get public
You
shamed.
jaywalk, mate. That's it. You'll get publicly shamed.
Instant public
Nothing
shame.
more socialist and communist. Yeah, and it'll downgrade your social credit score as well,
Oh my god.
right? And it deducts it automatically. Automatically deducts
From
the
your
fine
digital
from your digital wallet. There you go, mate. It's all automated. You don't need to worry about anything. Your credit score, your public shaming. What's next? Public lynching? Like, it's like what's gonna happen? Like, I mean, it's happening so fast that, you can't even remember who was like, it's not like there's a bunch of people jaywalking and it's doing it on the fly.
Another thing is China. People just don't care. People just don't
I think
care.
another thing is that I've kind of noticed that people just don't care. They don't give
My
a
life
shit.
is
right?
miserable as
That's
it is.
another-
I don't give a shit. Like, imagine you put this in Pakistan, okay, and people are gonna be like, "Get out of here, man! I don't care."
No, if it is in Pakistan, India, if something that was there, that thing will just go missing at
Just go
midnight.
missing
That
overnight.
whole unit with the camera will just go missing.
Oh God!
That whole piece of tech equipment will go missing. So if we had robots on the ground, they would need to be able to defend themselves. Like
Unlike
what
the
that
video we showed
7 video
year.
was.
Last week, right? The one
Yeah,
the robots
last
is getting
episode.
molested.
Yeah. So if if you are going to come up with, if you're going to create any kind of piece of tech for third world countries or developing countries, as they like to call it,
Make sure
it
that
better
they
be
have
able to protect itself.
Make sure that either they're able to protect themselves, or the country that they're going to is an authoritarian country. It's a government that is an authoritarian government. That's the only way it'll save.
That's it. That's the only way it's going to
It'll
work.
protect
Yeah.
itself.
So a lot of tech is being created that way. Yeah.
All right, man.
All right. So I think
Call it a day there.
that was a good session. Let's call it a day and get this online. So that one viewer of ours who's waiting incessantly to experience this episode, they can do that.
Thank you very much for watching, though. We really appreciate the patronage.
All right. Thanks,
All
buddy.
right.
Cheers, man.
See ya.
See you soon. Bye.